Hey guys, it's Ian again, coming back with another programming project to demo for you guys. My latest inspiration came this past weekend while I was watching one of my favorite esports organizations, 100Thieves, play a game of a competitive shooter called Valorant. And there are these tournaments for big esports organizations like 100Thieves, Cloud9, Sentinels, where they'll compete in these best of 3 or best of 5 matches over the course of a few days or a few weeks until a champion's crowned for the tournament. As this game was finishing up this past weekend, I was thinking to myself, man, that was a bunch of fun to watch my team, 100 Thieves. I wonder when they play next. And I know that 100 Thieves has other esports teams like League of Legends, Call of Duty, or Fortnite, but I'm not necessarily sure when their next event is that I can watch. And I also know that there are content creators that they have under the 100 Thieves brand like Valkyrie or Courage, but I'm not sure what platforms they stream on. I don't know what their socials are, and so I had this idea to create this esports organization app for 100 Thieves, when the logic behind it is for other people like me who kind of formed this allegiance to a team, but I'm not entirely sure where I can access all their content or how to best support their creators. Over the past week, I started developing this app that kind of mimics your local sports team app. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. I'll use the Cleveland Cavaliers for a sports team, for an example. So if I'm looking for the Cleveland Cavaliers schedule, I can pop open the Cavs app on my phone, I can check their schedule, maybe look at their roster, see if there's any news about any of the players on the team, maybe buy some jerseys, some tickets to a game, stuff like that. I spent about 30 to 35 hours over the past week creating a proof of concept of the same type of thing for the organization 100 Thieves. I'll cover most of it in this video. It'll cover a bit of the functionality and the technologies, but if you have any questions or anything, definitely feel free to ask. I had a lot of fun making this application, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But I appreciate you watching the video, and we'll jump into a demo of the app. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is the overall application architecture for the program. We're going to be jumping into the front end and back end and kind of covering a high level explanation of all of the components that we're using. We'll start with the front end. The front end's the client facing thing, so anytime that a user's interacting with a website or an application, what they're actually seeing on their screen is considered the front end. We're using React Native for our front ends, and React Native's a framework that allows you to develop applications across a bunch of different platforms using the same core code. So rather than developing an application for iOS using Swift and then developing the same application for Android using Java, and then for a web application using JavaScript, you can utilize React Native to build all of these together with just JavaScript. Jumping to the back end, we're going to be using Google Cloud. So Google Cloud is a cloud provider. It's similar to other cloud providers you may have heard in the past, like AWS or Amazon Web Services. Microsoft Azure is also Microsoft's version of the cloud. But they supply an assortment of services. You can rent virtual machines, you can use AI tools, you have database storage options, and a whole bunch of other things that you can do. I mean, we could talk for an entire video about the Google Cloud or even a semester-long course, but we'll keep it brief for this. There is an extension of the Google Cloud that we'll be utilizing called Firebase. Firebase is primarily used for application development. We're going to be using the authentication and Firestore aspects of Firebase. The authentication is just to confirm that the users who are supposed to have access to the app have access to the app, or allows users to go through the sign-up process through an application. The Firestore is going to be our database of sorts to store the information for what is being accessed and everything. Jumping into where the back-end code is, we've got Python and Flask built together. Python's another programming language, and Flask is a lightweight web framework. Basically, these two together are going to be our ability to create requests. So we're going to be using only GET or PUT requests for the different information we're looking for. But basically, all of this is going to be bundled together into a Docker container, which we see here. So the Docker container is a common way to bundle all the programs into a container image, which is basically just a snapshot of your image. This makes it a little bit easier to build and test and release your builds across a bunch of different servers, which is super common for developing in the cloud. And it's extremely common for companies to have their data replicated across multiple what's called availability zones or availability regions. Finally, we're going to be hosting our Docker image utilizing Google Cloud Run, and Google Cloud Run is a managed platform that enables you to run containers. So for the quick summary, our Google Cloud Run is going to be running our Docker container, which is going to be holding our Python and Flask information. The front end is basically going to allow the user to click on something and it'll go and retrieve the information from our Firestore and return it back to the front end. So we'll cover a little bit more in detail about the functionality and everything moving forward, but this is the high-level architecture. So the first section of this that we'll be looking at is the login screen and authentication service. So we see on our application right now the splash screen, which has the 100Thieves logo, and as this loads in, we see that the user gets navigated to the login screen. So on the login screen, you can enter an email and password provided that the user has an authenticated user already, or you can navigate to the sign up option, which is what we'll do here. The sign up option prompts you to enter a little bit of user information as well as a password, confirm the password. For our example, we're just going to enter a general user. We'll name it fake username, give it a generic username email, and we will click the terms of service option, click register and sign up. And basically what's happening here is our application is saying, okay, our users provide a whole bunch of information, create a user that's authenticated in our database. And so we'll create this user. It's going to send a message back to our front end that's going to say, hey, user's authenticated. They're good to access our app. And so once they have that okay from the back end, you'll see that the user is able to access our main screen. So now that we have a user that's been authenticated, they got access to the actual main application. So the main application initially navigates the user to this news and stories page, which we see here. So the news and stories page has kind of two components to the layout. You've got this top carousel, which is a image of the story as well as a quick snippet of it. This will cycle through automatically, or the user can swipe left and right on it. You also have a list underneath that has the stories that you can click on as well. Right now, these two are mirrored off each other, but they can come from two separate sources. So we can see just through the navigation, it's a scrollable list. We see the top page. You can swipe through and swipe out. And then if we choose to click on an option, it'll navigate us to the actual story. So this is all within the Firestore information to tell us where to route to, and it's all configurable. Basically, any information that you see that is on the page is retrieved from this Firestore, so that it's really easily updatable based on what you want your application to have and not have to release a new version of the application every time. And we also see that there's an alert that comes up. Basically, this is showing that it can do a multitude of things. So it can navigate you as well as do some other things. In this case, I just had it click and show an alert that the message that was clicked on was this specific message. You also have the opportunity to click items in the list. So I'll click an item in the list, and once again, it's going to do the same functionality of navigating us to the story that we clicked on for the 100 Thieves organization. Moving on to the team section, we see right now it's paused at the loading. So this is kind of the screen that you'll see as it's pulling the information. So we've clicked on the team details tab. What it's doing is it's saying, hey, I need some information on the teams that are available. It's going through that Python and Docker. That's communicating with our database and saying, hey, we're looking for the teams that are available. The Firestore is returning, yeah, we've got this for you, and that sends it back to the front end. So once that's sent back, we actually see it get populated with the teams that are available, and the interface is kind of set up with a bunch of lists with it indicating kind of what these members of 100 Thieves belong to. So the first list is going to be just their list of content creators. We'll see as we scroll down, there's the League of Legends professional players as well as the Valorant professional players. We'll click into the Valorant professional players, And we see that at the top, you have another detailed list of the roster, and you also see their upcoming matches, as well as if we scroll down, their completed or previous matches. So all of this as well is populated in our Firestore and can be set up to be automated, but right now it's just retrieving information from a database. As we click on one of these upcoming matches, it'll navigate us to a page that can give us some more information. For the Valorant games, I used this website, vlr.gg. It's what I use to kind of see the upcoming matches and everything, but it can really navigate you to wherever you want to navigate to. You can also click on a person on the roster and you can get information from that player. So for instance, we clicked on a player whose name is Hiko, and we've got this bell icon up top, which we can click on, and it'll allow us to enable notifications like that pop-up just told us. And basically the idea behind this is if I wanted to get notifications that Hiko has done anything, it can all be routed through this app. Underneath, we have all of the socials that the user would tie to, and I found this part particularly interesting because occasionally I'll watch Hiko play on Twitch and he'll plug his socials and all that information, but every content creator or professional player has their own socials. Some people stream on Twitch, some people stream on YouTube, some people don't have TikTok, some people have all of these. So I just thought this was a really compact way to include all of it. And then the other fun detail that I included is basically the player card or this surrounding area is just a little indicator of where you can find them. So it'll be purple for a Twitch streamer, it'll be red for a YouTube streamer, it'll be a hybrid of the two if they are streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. So we can see that as we click on the Instagram icon, it navigates us to the Hiko Instagram page. And if we click on the YouTube icon, it navigates us to Hiko's YouTube. Again, all of these are built up in the backend, so there's nothing that has to be done aside from just waiting for that initial request to fulfill, and then all the information is readily available. So now that that user is notified, we have the ability to click on this team's icon to bring us back to the home page of this team's category, where it brings us right back to this team's page, and we can continue on. Moving on to the shop category, 100 Thieves also have apparel. So I've included just a few items from their shop, but basically what we see here is a list of items. As you scroll vertically, it's a different item, and the horizontal scrolls that are available are the different colors options for each of the items. If you see an item that you like, you can click on the object. It'll direct you right to 100 Thieves' actual website where you can continue on with your checkout and everything. There's more information that can be populated, but a lot of this shop information would likely come from the back end of 100 Thieves. They probably already have all the information of sizing and pricing and everything stored. So there was no real reason to make the front end very verbose aside from just navigating them to 100 Thieves page so that they could continue their checkout on that page. The next page we're going to look at is this search members page. So the search members page is going to do pretty much the same thing that we just did. It's going to contact, say, hey, we're looking for the members, go through our Python app. The app's going to say, yep, we know who to contact, talk to our database. Database is going to say, yeah, we've got these members for you, no problem. And that's going to send it back to the front end, which is what we see here. Looking at the overall layout of this search members page, we have a search bar up top, which we can use to filter through all of the members that are available, as well as a list. So if we wanted to actually search for a user, for this example, we're searching for Courage, and once we click on his user, we see his card similar to Hiko's card that we just saw come up, except Courage has a red back, so it looks like Courage streams primarily on YouTube, and Courage has access to his Twitter or his YouTube. We can also decide, I want to get notifications for Courage as well. Click on the little bar and we see that we've enabled notifications for Courage. On clicking on the YouTube link, we see that it navigates us to Courage's YouTube, and we can continue on from there. It also will navigate us to our Twitter page. We also have the opportunity to search based on game as well. So I'm typing in Valorant. We see the 5 members of 100 Thieves' professional Valorant roster get populated here as well. This just makes it so that if you're not quite sure, if you want to look up who's on the League of Legends teams, but you can't remember what member you care about, or you just want to subscribe to an entire category, you can easily browse it here. The last page I want to look at is this settings page, but before we get to the settings page, let's go through and we'll add a few more notifications for some users. So we'll turn on notifications for Valkyrie, we'll turn on some notifications for Asuna, and as we navigate to our profile page, we see there's just 2 items that are currently populated. 3 if you include this image, which is the only thing that's actually hard-coded in. We see the fake username email that we used to sign up with, and then also a list of the users that we've signed up to receive notifications for. So we had Hiko, Courage, Valkyrie, and Asuna. Ideally, now that we have this in our backend, it has gone through our user profile. This is one of the put requests that it said, hey, for this user, we want to store that these people are being followed for this user. And then that can allow us to send events basically for any sort of notifications for any of those users. So if Hiko or Valkyrie post a new video on YouTube, you could theoretically get a push notification to this application saying so. That's pretty much it for the application demo. I appreciate you guys sitting through it, but like I said, it was a lot of fun. I feel like it was a good experience all around. If you have any questions, as always, definitely feel free to ask, and I'll see you on the next one.